Let's see if we can get our character moving around now. So if we hit play, we can see what we've done so far is we've got an idle animation running as soon as we turn on the game. We can push the up arrow and he can run, and we can hit the space bar and he can jump. All right, so if we come back here and let's open up that script again, and what we want is for our character to move forward when we push that up key. So it's going to be in here in this if statement when we say if we get an input from the up key. So I'm just going to put a line right here. And we're using that move direction variable to push him up for the jump and for gravity pushing down. Let's go ahead and use that again for moving him forward. So we'll use that move direction right here, and we'll say that that's going to be equal to him moving forward. So here's transform.forward, and we're going to multiply that vertical axis here. Let's input get axis, and we're going to put vertical in here. And then what we want to do is multiply this times some speed. And we can create a variable called speed that we can put in there. And then in the inspector, we can adjust the speed on the fly after testing to see how fast our character should move. So let's come up here and let's put a public float once again so we can adjust it in the inspector. We'll call it speed, and we'll set it to, I don't know, how about 25? Let's just try 25 and see how fast that's going to be. There's really no way to know at this point in time. We'll just put a number in there and see. Now, just like the run animation, we're going to want him to be able to come to a stop when we pull our finger up off the up arrow. So we need something down here in the else statement that'll do that for us. So what we can do is just take this whole thing. I'm just going to take this whole line, copy it, paste it, and instead of speed, let's just put 0. That'll stop him, right? Let's try that. All right, so let's save our script and let's go back to Unity, make sure there are no errors down here. Let's hit play and let's see what happens. So I'll hit the up arrow, and he goes. And he keeps going. All right, let's stop that. Let's see what happens here. Now, the reason why he kept going, it looked as if our else statement didn't work, but the reason why he kept going is because he wasn't grounded. He went off of the ground. So what we need is to increase the size of our ground there. And also, it's going to be hard to see if he's moving if it's just plain white. So let's do this. Let's select this plane and let's increase the scale. How about 10 in the X and 10 in the Z? Let's try that. And then we really ought to have some sort of texture on here so we can tell if we're moving. Let's bring in, I'm going to import a new asset, and I've got a checker pattern somewhere on my drive. I'm going to bring that in. I'm just going to search for checker, and here it is. I'll just take this and drag it in, and there we go. So now we've got this checker pattern in our assets window here, and I'm just going to drag that right onto the plane, and there we go. All right, if I select the plane and take a look at its material here, we could increase the tiling, this X and Y of tiling, maybe increase that to 3 for each. There we go. Yeah, so now I'm going to select my character and zoom in with the F key. There he is. So now we can see him moving around on this ground plane, and he won't fall off so easily. So if I hit play again, now if I hit the up arrow, there we go. He can run, but he can't turn. He just goes one direction, and that's it. All right, so now we need him to turn. How do we get him to turn? Well, I think we're going to need a couple of new variables. And one of the variables we can actually create right down here within our if-else statements. So let me go right here, create a new line here. And what let's do is let's create a new float variable, and we'll just call it turn. And what this is doing is looking for input on the horizontal axis, or those arrow keys, the left and right arrow keys. There we go. And we can do that down here as well, I believe. We're going to need this down here. There we go. Just copy and paste that down to the else statement. And now what we want to do is we want to transform, instead of forward, we want to transform rotate. There's the rotate. And we can say that for the X, Y, and Z axis, we only want to rotate around the Y axis. So for this particular command, the X is going to be 0, right? The Y will use that turn variable, because that's what's getting the input. We'll multiply that times yet another new variable called turn speed. We'll have to create that up with the other variables. You can see how it's red now. And we'll multiply that. Instead of by the frame rate, we don't want to use the possibly fluctuating frame rate for this. We want to use time, so we'll use time.delta time. And for the Z, we just want to rotate 0 degrees, like that. So you've got the X, Y, and Z, and we're just rotating around the Y. So yes, this turn speed we need to deal with, don't we? So let's copy this, let's bring it up here, and let's once again create a public float. We'll call it turn speed, and we'll set it equal to, no idea. I'm going to set it to 60 and see how we do here. There we go. All right. So now that we have this line of code, we should just be able to take this and move it down here. Now, what that's going to mean is he's just going to slide on the ground and turn when he's in the idle position. A lot of character controllers like this, or player scripts, will have the camera move around the character when you move, say, the arrow keys or something. And then when you hit forward, it'll push the character or move the character forward opposite the camera. All we're doing here is just having him slide around, turn as the camera turns. Or I guess the camera is actually following him as he turns. So this is pretty stripped down, but I just wanted to get us through setting up a very basic player script here. All right, so let's save this and let's just test this out. So we'll go back to Unity, make sure we don't have any errors, and if I hit play, there he is. We can go forward, and if I hit the up arrow and one of the left or right arrows, I can turn him, oh, but not fast enough, huh? Let me try that again. Let me see how quickly I can turn him. Oh, he's moving pretty good. He turns, I want him to, he keeps running off. I want him to turn a little bit faster than that. So what I can do is select the character, and let's come down to turn speed. I'm going to take this up to 100. Let's try that. All right. Oh, and I wanted to take the speed down to 10, didn't I? Let me try that. All right. So here he goes. He's moving a little bit slower now. There we go. That's a little better. All right. So he's moving around and turning. Good. Now he can jump. Let's see. He can jump. He's kind of still running after I hit jump. Let's take a look at why that's happening. I think that's because, if we go back over here to the animator, I think that's because we haven't turned off exit time for all of these transitions. We turned them off. Let's move this down. We turned off exit time here for these two transitions, right? But we didn't do it for these. Let me turn these off. And the reason why I'm turning this off is I just want each of these clips to be triggered immediately. And looks like I've got exit time turned off there. So I just didn't have them turned off here. Okay, so let's hit our play button again, and let's start running, and let's jump. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I get a better reaction. with that. Yeah, good, okay. So the last thing I'd like to do is just add a few objects in here to the scene so he can run and jump on them. So I just right-clicked in the hierarchy, and I'm going to go to 3D object, and I'll just create a cube here. And I'm just going to scale it up. There it is. And I'm just going to move it around, and he can run around and jump on these things a bit. Well, I just added a few obstacles here, that's all. If I select my character and I hit the F key, I can zoom back into him. And let's hit the play button and just see how he looks. There he is. So now I can move, maybe jump. Yeah. And let's turn around here and see what else we can find. Yeah, so we can just run around and jump on things and just test and play around. Why not? Well, I hope this has been helpful for you. I've had a lot of fun doing this. This is my favorite part of the whole process, seeing your character run around and jump on things. So thank you for watching this game character creation series. We've done a lot of work in Blender. We've gone through the whole process of modeling, sculpting, retopology, UV mapping, texturing, rigging, animation, and finally importing into a game engine. It's been a lot of fun. I love doing this, and I hope it was useful for you. Well, thanks for watching, and see you next time.